Good morning, everybody. I'm Austin. I'm the blue guy. All that jazz. I am almost there. I've got about 3 hours left till I get to DC. It's been a longer, more tumultuous deal than I expected, but it's honestly gone pretty smooth, except for the tire thing. But that was handled pretty quickly. Yeah. I will try to be a bit better about the whole rambling, meandering path that I normally go on as far as what I talk about goes. So today I'm going to go with a specific goal in mind. And then going forward, I might have like a point each time, or like almost like a topic sentence type of thing to build the idea off of. And today, well, this video is going to be about the fact that DOGE is dumb as hell. Like, it makes zero sense. The efficient thing isn't a chainsaw, it's a scalpel. And you don't go into a china shop with a hammer trying to clear up inventory. You know what I mean? Like, this is not how you do things. And honestly, it starts with the freaking name. DOGE, D-O-G-E, Department of Government Efficiency. That is not efficient. That's not efficient. Name it the Efficiency Department, and then just tell people you work for Ted or work for Ed. And when people say, who do you work for? Efficiency Department or Ted or Ed. Easy. So simple. You don't have to like explain, oh, DOGE, it's a thing, it's a meme, it's referencing a dog, it's, you know, Shiba coin, all that nonsense. It's the dumbest, it's all like meme internet nonsense. And it's like, that is so childish. It's such a dorky way to do things. Like, this is insane. Like, Department of Government Efficiency. You don't ever. But why? But it's so stupid. So, right. Ed or Ted, the Efficiency Department, Ted. If you're gonna do the whole the and of thing, it's not like the USA. It's not the United States of America and the science. That's not TUSOA, right? So whatever. We're not TUSOA, whatever. But still, Ted, the Efficiency Department, cool. What are they doing? You know what I mean? Like, they talk about all this like transparency and all stuff, and the fact is that it's not transparent. They announce what they're doing in posts on X, which is also inefficient because, one, you don't get any of the minutia of the information going on. You don't understand what's actually being done. But also, what that dumb has done with Twitter, going from, I know people have made this comparison and this like argument before, but you had the Kleenex treatment, you had the name Twitter, you had tweet. People were saying tweet instead of message or post or any of that. So it's like, why would you give up that advantage? You had recognizable, it's like when people say nowadays, they don't say, I'm going to look for something on the internet. They say, I'm going to Google something. Even if they aren't using Google, they'll say, I'm going to Google it. They might, and most people use Google, but like, even if they weren't, you'd still, it's so simple. It's not like when Alphabet took over, you know, it's not like they say the Alphabet anything, they're going to Google something, right? It's so silly and it's so inefficient. Why would you get the guy who doesn't do anything efficiently to do the efficiency department? You know what I mean? The guy who names every one of his company, like, all his companies are named stupid stuff. like X, SpaceX, and then the one company you would think that would actually be doing something good is Tesla, and that's just another person's name. That's an actual inventor's name, an actual like pioneer and Tesla was a genius. Tesla was one of the great minds of our existence, of our reality, and then honestly, one of the reasons why Tesla is doing so good is because you're using a recognizable name. Like, people know about Tesla coils. People know about Tesla. People know about the fact that Elon isn't that. He's a low-rent, kind of incel version of Tony Stark, or he's trying to be, at least. He's a dork. Like, I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I'm a dork. I love everything when it comes to like science fiction, fantasy, pop culture, literature, all that stuff. I love creativity and creative endeavors. But that guy is such, like, he's the guy who wears a chain wallet. Like, I get it if you're wearing a chain wallet and you ride a motorcycle. That's because, so that your wallet doesn't fall out of your pocket. Valid. But honestly, chain wallets don't really make sense because it just be better. Like, whatever. My mom's ex-husband, total tool bag, is probably a huge fan of Elon. The fact that he's got that dark MAGA hat, it's so dorky. It's so, I know the word cringy is used so much. I'm probably avoid that as much as I can, but just sad. It's just a guy who's trying to be cool, not realizing that trying to be cool is the antithesis of cool. Like, he's so, like, though. Let's get back to the DOGE itself. What are they doing? They're cutting government organizations and all of the trappings that there are, one foul swoop, just done, just cutting them out, or firing hundreds or thousands of people in a go, like the park rangers. Like, I saw that video where the lady was saying that you are doing this, and now you're going to have all the state parks, well, the national parks aren't going to be managed, and they're just going to be left to build up trash, or left to like build up debris, and then there's going to be forest fires because nobody's clearing out the underbrush. Like, nobody's doing the job, and it's like, that's just one example. USAID. There's the only reason people are okay with it, the people who are okay with it are only cool with it because they keep hearing the words corrupt. Prove to us that it's corrupt. Show us the corruption. Show us, they'll say, oh, well, they used the funding for these weird, like the, whatever, was it $5 or some $1 million worth of condoms? Yeah, really, no. Anybody who understands money, or anybody who understands the cost of things, will understand immediately that's not how much a small area would need in condoms. Like, it's insane. But what USAID was actually doing is helping a lot of people, and that has been just stomped on. And yes, you can look at it as like a selfless way. Yeah, it's helping people, but it's also in a diplomatic sense. We were building ties with people all over the world. We were helping with like vaccines and welfare treatment and healthcare stuff in Africa. That massive continent, huge, like a bunch of countries were reliant on us in certain aspects of their life because we were the only ones who could bring them that stuff, other than Russia and China. And so what we're doing is playing right into other countries' hands. And I'm not going to say that they shouldn't also, like, that they can do awesome things too. Like, I don't know, I've never been to China, I've never been to Russia. I'm sure that most people in Russia and most people in China are dope, awesome people, right? Just people. The governments that they're living under aren't all great, and so we're, by undermining our own diplomatic endeavors, you're making them the go-to now. It's so frustrating because if you look at what's happening with like the trade war and the tariffs and how we're handling Gaza and like you gotta turn Gaza into basically the Vegas Strip, the Riviera. Are you kidding me? Have you it's so obnoxious. And the overabundance and overwhelming reliance on AI generated content is so infuriating. I'm sure to creators, I aspire to be more of a creator. I like to write and I like to do some more creative stuff, but that's one of my aspirations, is to be more creative and to see people who actively do that. Like, I'm not saying anybody should have made that dumb video by hand. Like, I don't know if anybody who would have. I'm sure there's plenty of MAGA people who know computer design and graphic design who would have jumped on the job, and yet they made it with AI, and they could have supported one of their people or a handful of people to get that video made, and it wouldn't have been that long of a process. But no, they went with AI, the thing that is still hallucinating like crazy and makes people have ridiculous looking hands and doesn't know how to not give dogs extra legs. Like it's not even. It's so silly. Like all of that stuff, what the government is doing right now, and what DOGE is doing, is so silly. And DOGE, it's such a dumb name. It's just a meme. Why would you want our government, our reputation to be built off of a meme? Are you kidding me? You're trying to quote unquote make America great again. Okay, with that, which time period are you referencing? The 50s? The 70s? No, it can't be the 70s. Hippies, right? 80s? No, it can't be the 80s. Okay, what time period were we great? The 20s? You're trying to go back to Prohibition, or are you trying to go back to 50s where it's like picket fences and the nuclear family? What's the era that you're making America great again to? Like what's the thing? So I'm saying, I think that as the people who are against this nonsense, myself included, we should do our own dumb acronym. Or honestly, I think we should make it intentionally dumb. It shouldn't, like, MAGA is a terrible acronym. Make America Great Again. Define the terms, please. Like, have you ever looked at like a long legal document where they will have a word and define the word so that you know going forward every time that word is used what they're meaning? We should have that for MAGA. Like, make America great again. Okay, define America, because now you're trying to make Canada a state. Now you're trying to invade Greenland. Now you're trying to piss off our allies, and you're trying to undermine freedom. Define great, okay? And then again, America's done amazing things, but so has I don't know. This is probably. It's a pretty blatant statement I'm about to make. I'm pretty sure every country has done at least one great thing, right? Every group of people has done great things. And so what greatness are we doing by undermining our place in society? This reputation we've put so much effort into building as the Puritans would say, the lighthouse on the hill back in the day. They had the idea of America was going to be a lighthouse on the hill for the rest of the world, like a paradise. Okay, that's a cool goal to reach towards as an aspiration. So I propose, instead of make America great again, because that makes no sense, I say let's go with Make America Dope finally. Like it makes no sense as an acronym. And so I say make it funny. So MADF, right? Don't pronounce the F, it's just mad, right? And so I had this idea for a shirt. It would say, don't get mad, get even. And then it would say, Make America Dope finally. MADF. It would be MAD. Each letter would be a different style font, and F would be the F would be italicized, maybe to indicate that it's a silent F. You don't say the F. And so top line, like a rocker above the thing, almost like a spiral, would be, don't get mad, get even. MADF, because they're being real odd. Because you know how mad they get when you call them weird. So it's like, odd is just another word for saying weird, and you only pronounce the odd letter, the 3 letters of mad. So it's kind of a funny little, like a play on words. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to make. It's just make America Dope finally. The F would be like a capital, be like a italicized F. Finally, let's be dope. Like let's be as good as we can be. Let's bring back Roe versus Wade. Let's support women's freedom and let's support trans rights. Support LGBT rights across the board. Let's support our troops and allow people who want to serve and defend our country serve and defend our country, regardless of how they identify. Right? That's none of, as I said the other day, it's nobody's business how people identify. As long as you're not hurting anybody except for yourself, right? Like you are your own person. So if I don't like self-harm. I prefer people to be, avoid those things. But if it's your life, your prerogative. But still, don't hurt anybody. Please don't hurt yourself. And as long as that's being maintained and everybody's consenting and everybody's happy, or at least, like I said, consenting, it's none of our business, right? What you do with your life is your life. And we need to make America dope finally. Let's work towards that. Let's work towards let's keep a goal that's like a horizon we can never quite reach. Like, what do you mean by dope? Okay, well, it's more amazing than it was yesterday, so we're building towards our goal, right? There's more, like, we define ourselves as the home, we call ourselves the home of the free, right? We're the freest country in the world. Let's be that. Let's promote freedom. And we can say in God we trust and stuff like that, and not necessarily specify a Christian God or why don't we do that? Promote freedom of religion like we're supposed to in the Constitution. We're supposed to promote freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of identification, freedom of movement. We have all this land. I'm pretty sure I'm in Virginia now. We have all this land. I've driven from Nevada, Vegas, all the way to Virginia over the last couple days. And this country is beautiful and massive and diverse. And there's these huge swaths of land that are just free and beautiful and wild. And that's what we should encourage is support nature, because if we don't support nature, we're gonna, like we're seeing with climate change, how things are getting worse. They just are. Storms are getting more insane. The temperatures are fluctuating more dramatically. It's just if you're not seeing it at this point, then you're being willfully ignorant, unfortunately. But we shouldn't cut the Department of Education. We shouldn't cut anything like the Environmental Protection Agency. We shouldn't have the guy who dropped a rotting bear corpse in Central Park be the guy in charge of health. That is so unsanitary. even if you ignore this insanity of the bear part of it, it's a dead body, right? Also, he was driving around in his trunk, and he forgot about it, or he was going to a dinner party or some kind of dinner engagement, and he didn't want to leave it in his trunk. Oh no, I forgot a bear corpse in my trunk, so I'm going to drop this at Central Park with a bicycle I also happen to be carrying. Why are you carrying a broken bicycle in your trunk anyway, dog? What does that mean? But we shouldn't have that guy, the anti-vax guy, be in charge of health. How is that efficient? How is that the right way to do things? I was active duty in the Air Force. I was in the National Guard. My mom was married to a Marine, and he was stationed in Okinawa, Japan for a few years. So I've had more vaccines and more shots than most people. Anybody who travels internationally has to get all kinds of shots. And anybody who joins the military knows very clearly about the line of vaccines and shots you have to go down. I was literally in a room of hundreds of other airmen walking down a line of people with needles putting vaccines in my arm. One after the other. I don't even know how many I've had in my life. I'm doing great. I hope. From my perspective, I'm doing great. So, the guy who's anti-vax, the guy who drops a bear corpse in a public spot and then makes it look like a bicycle hit and run? How is making that guy in charge of health efficient? How is making any of these decisions efficient? And then it just boils back down. The name DOGE is not efficient. It's not. Because you have to say DOGE, and you're like, do you mean DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, or do you mean DOGE, the Bitcoin variant, the meme coin, or do you mean DOGE as in the meme itself? Okay. Oh, you're talking about the meme. Oh, sorry. I was thinking you were talking about Elon and his dumb endeavors. The chainsaw, a chainsaw is not the metaphor you want, my friend. That is not efficient. It's just not. And it's so frustrating because you see the guy in the chair sign all these executive orders, just a stack of them, and then you can clearly see him asking one of his peons. He's like, "What's this one again?" Oh, cool. But how is signing a handful of executive orders back to back without actually knowing what they are efficient? It's not, because what you're doing is you're blowtorching a forest to put in a parking lot, and you didn't realize that the parking lot is going to be on top of a methane pocket or something like that. You didn't put any thought into where you put that parking lot. You didn't put any thought into which forest you cut down. You didn't put any thought into who you hired to do the job and whether or not they were good at their job. You just did a whole bunch of nonsense, chainsawed it all down, and said, good enough. And then immediately had to backtrack. How many times have these people been doing these things with cutting a program and then have to backtrack and say, oh, well, we can't cut the whole thing because there are so many different things that are reliant on that pillar that if we take it out, it's a load-bearing pillar. A load-bearing column. You can't take the column out without knocking down the ceiling above it. It's insane. That's why we have so many people doing these jobs. Like, I've worked in the government. I've had security clearances that were insane. It's like that show, Severance. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but the trailer alone, very, really relevant to how I experienced part of my life. Literally had to go into work and be a different person, and then when I left work, I couldn't talk about my job because I had a clearance. And you can't. If you're around people who don't have a clearance, you can't talk about your job. It's a need to know. You have to have the right security clearance and a need to know. Most people don't need to know what the security clearance allows you to see. So I made a point of, while I was in that job, not reading things I wasn't supposed to read. And you don't go through an entire organization like USAID and just start shredding everything. That sounds sketchy as hell. Doesn't that sound like what happened with what's that company? The big part of that movie. I forgot the name of it, but there was that whole company that went under because they were they were embezzling all that money, and they were, like, you know what I mean. But it seems sketchy, like, to just go into an organization and then claim corruption and then shred all evidence of anything they've done. That sounds like you're covering up the corruption, or you're covering up the lack of corruption so that you can claim corruption. Like, it's wild that these people are doing these things just left and right. And it's insane to me that nobody, like, so many people are talking about it, I'm sure, I know. But, like, just look at these things that people are doing and think for 2 seconds, and you'll see that what they're doing is the wrong way to do something. I had a commander in the Air Force, really nice guy. I won't give any information other than the fact that his call sign was Lucky. Really good commander. And he made this, when he first took over as the commander of my unit, my squadron, he announced, he's like, I'm gonna be I'm gonna take over this train, and I'm gonna run it my way. But the right way to take over as the new conductor isn't to just start steering the ship or start steering the train without knowing what's going on. You need to see how the train is run first, learn what they're doing and understand what's going on, and then start making decisions that change things. When Elon got in and is now standing next to the president's desk like he's somehow also in charge, he didn't do any of that. He didn't look at how things were run. He just walked in and started chainsawing government organizations, things that are structural and integral to our country being what it is. Like, the things that make us as a country people look up to or used to. It's insane. Like, we've had a bad reputation since forever, obviously. America's made some kind of wild decisions, and I can't abide by a lot of those, but at the same time, we do great things. This country is amazing, and I love America, but at the same time, it's hard to be proud of America when you're seeing her reputation being stomped on like this. And it's not even by an American citizen. It's being stomped on by a guy who isn't from here. Like, if he had gotten his citizenship, or if he had dual citizenship, I don't know. Why is he the guy you're making in charge? Just because he's one of the richest men in the world? That's not his. No, he's rich because he invests in existing companies and then buys them out and then ruins them. Like, he does. Look at Tesla. Like, of electric cars, even though Teslas are the most ubiquitous in the States, look at the fact that their quality control is just awful. Like, when they were announcing the Cybertruck, the whole snafu with the freaking bulletproof glass or like unbreakable glass, and immediately a steel ball thrown by a guy who wasn't trying too hard, like, immediately dispelled your claims. Also, it's a ugly truck. Let's just get that out of the way. It's ugly. But really, look at the rest of the Tesla lineup. He named them S, 3, X, and Y to say sexy. What a dork. You're a dork. And not even like the fun kind of dork. Like, that is like obnoxious. Why? Why would you, like, what? It's also not efficient. Whatever. And when you look at the cars themselves, while on the surface you're like, oh, it's a Tesla, they all look the same. Teslas look basically the same. An X to an S is just a little bit chunkier, a little taller, and has the gull-wing doors, or the whatever they're calling themselves. But look at the body panels of Teslas, any Tesla, and they don't line up. There's these gaps, there's these like raised edges and stuff like that. They're not well-made cars. And then you look at any other electric car company who's doing their work, like Rivian. Rivian has a contract with Amazon with the delivery vans, the trucks, whatever you want to call them. Those, like if you look at even just the Rivian Amazon Prime vehicles, those look good. Have you seen? They're well made. Then you got the truck, the Rivian R1T and the Rivian R1S. Those are well made vehicles. Like every aspect, like they have the R1T has that spot where you would have to have a transmission where they don't need one because of the fact that they're isolated motors. So they have this area that normally the transmission would go through, and they don't have to have that spot be occupied by anything moving or required, and so they cut a hole through that spot and made it a storage spot, which is great because that's what a lot of trucks lack is covered storage. It's such a simple thing, but like they did so good. And also the color and like the design with the yellow outlines and stuff like that, it looks like a pretty vehicle. And then you have Teslas. They're just the same car, one smaller, one bigger, one slightly longer, one with the gull-wing doors, but they're essentially the same car. And then you've got the Plaid, which has got the yoke. That's what you're not driving in freaking Formula One, dog. You don't need a yoke. A steering wheel is the right shape for on the street because you need to take tight turns and you need to be able to rotate the wheel all the way around. It is a better design than a yoke. It just is. And then you have SpaceX and the Boring Company. Like, the Boring Company? Okay, that's probably the only company we hear nothing about. What are they actually doing? We hear about SpaceX every other day, right? SpaceX this, SpaceX that. They're getting, they're getting their hands in all the government contracts. They're transporting the shuttle, the astronauts to the space station, stuff like that. Or they're working with NASA and all that stuff. It's like, what is the Boring Company doing? Aren't they supposed to have this weird, like, the tunnel built between, what is it, somewhere in California and Vegas? What's the update on that? Okay. What also are you doing with, like, SpaceX? Like, you finally made it do the takeoff and land thing that you wanted to, but what are you doing? I love all this technology. I love what all these companies are doing, and like as far as like, I love advancement, but Elon is not the right guy for the job, unfortunately. At least not for our government. He should not. He's using all these cuts he's doing to get the government off his back with the sketchy stuff he's been doing with his companies. It's that thing where he said, if there's ever a conflict of interest, I'll step back. You being in that office is a conflict of interest. So step back. Get out of the office. Don't bring your kid to that. I'm sorry. It's not bring your kid to work day. Nobody else had their child with them. You have like 14 different kids, and with like how many different women? Have your billions of dollars to get a nanny just for the day to watch your kid. You don't need to bring them to the White House. Whatever. But it's so inefficient. The whole setup. Boring Company, X, SpaceX, PayPal, all these different companies he's got his hands in. And just look at how he's handled Twitter. That company has gotten into so much trouble across the world because, what was it, in Indonesia, where it was somewhere, it was like Singapore, Indonesia, I knew it was in the East, one of the Eastern Asian countries. They weren't paying their rent on their building. Are you kidding me? You're supposedly the richest man in the world and you're not paying your bills? That doesn't sound very good for the guy we're trying to run the efficiency department. It's not for a very good look for the guy you're wanting to be kind of the de facto leader, the guy who's in charge but not in charge, doesn't pay his bills. He is supposedly the richest man in the world, and so he has more money than God, and yet he doesn't pay his bills? Okay. And he cuts as many employees as he can. He cut some of the quality control people, that whole chunk of the department, from Twitter. The people who would actually, make sure people weren't posting death threats and terrorist propaganda and human trafficking and just all the porn in the world. Those people are the ones he got rid of. That's insane. How is that efficient? I don't know, it makes no sense to me. Department of Government Efficiency. Why use more words when few words are better? And why make a longer, more ridiculous acronym just because it makes you giggle? You're a child. Well, he's a child, and he's a dork, and he's ruining our country. Just like he's ruining Twitter in that $40 billion waste of money that he walked his way into. He tried to backtrack. He tried to say, no, I'm good. I don't actually want to buy it. And they're like, no, you signed the contract. You have to buy it at this point. And he's like, oh, I was kind of hoping you would not check that. Are you kidding me? And he changes his name to X. X? That's it? That's your edgy, dorky way of making it better? Ugh. Everything he does has the letter X in it for some reason. Why is he so enamored with that letter? It's that dorky, it's that like S thing that you used to see in like middle school and high school. It's just that. It's just a guy who, it's the kid who claims to be some big shot because his dad did something. He's a silver spoon Nepo baby. If you've ever seen Brennan Lee Mulligan's rant about Elon, he nails it on the head. It's so good. And then you see Cliff Cash talking about these guys, and it's so good. It's insane to me that Elon is looked up to as like and people make the comparison like I jokingly did earlier about the whole Tony Stark wannabe, but he's not. He made what did he make? He made a crappy car. He launched one of those cars into space for no reason. He made a weirdly just Home Depot, Lowe's, like tiki torch lighter and called it a flamethrower. He made his boring company the one that's supposed to make the Hyperloop, and have we seen any progress with that? He ruined Twitter, and he is ruining this country, all in the name of what he says is efficiency, when if you understand efficiency, you're supposed to optimize the process. You're supposed to go through and actually know what you're saying and know what you're doing. And he's done none of that. Alright, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I know I kind of rambled there for a bit, as I want to do. I'm a rambler. But yeah, I tried to keep it on track today. I'll just say, since it's closer to the end of the video, maybe I'll be able to get away with it. But yeah, fuck Elon.